So welcome everyone to our webinar, Maximising Efficiency within FS&I using Microsoft Copilot. Just a little bit of housekeeping to start with. This session is going to be recorded. All attendees will receive a copy of the recording following the webinar. Please make sure you're on mute just to avoid disruptions. And in terms of questions, please put them in the chat. We'll try and respond to as many as we can during the webinar. If we can't get around to all of them, we'll follow up post-webinar answering all of your questions. So, just some brief introductions. So I'm Brad. I'm a financial services account executive here at A&S. I help organisations, from banks and building societies all the way through to investment managers and insurers, digitally transform through cloud, data security, and low-code. And we're joined today by Susanna Loop, Microsoft Data and AI Specialist, and Chris Huntingford, the A&S low-code lead and ecosystem architect. But I'll just hand over quickly to those guys to introduce themselves. So, Susanna, do you want to go first?
Hi everybody, so as Brad mentioned, I'm Susanna. I work for Microsoft, and the remit of my role is very much working with financial services and insurance organizations and the commercial space on their data strategy, which very much spans across data platforms, machine learning, data science projects, but this year, big focus on Gen AI and AI-led projects as well. So very happy to be here, and thank you for joining. And Chris, over to you.
I definitely don't have that much of a cool introduction, I'm not going to lie. But yeah, my name is Chris Huntingford. I kind of wear a bunch of hats in this company, but at the moment it's low-code lead, but also director of digital innovation, so running around doing stuff with Gen AI. And right now, lots and lots of co-pilots. In fact, all the co-pilots, which we're going to talk to you about today.
Okay, perfect. So moving on to what's on the cards today. So we're really excited to bring this webinar first and foremost because it's such a talking point, not only within financial services, but all sectors across the board. AI has actually been around for quite some time now, but it's really come to light in this last year through the advent of ChatGPT, and then Microsoft obviously releasing their Copilot solution, which is obviously essentially an AI tool built into Microsoft 365 applications that can improve productivity by automating business processes and tasks. So in this webinar, we're going to give you an overview of AI from the Microsoft perspective and the whole story around OpenAI and Microsoft there, and also then transition into a demonstration of the Copilot technology and how it can be used to maximise those internal efficiencies. As I said, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat, and we'll aim to address these throughout the webinar and hopefully at the end as well. So just a very brief overview of A&S. I appreciate some of you might not know who we are and wondering whether we are actually an artificial intelligence bringing you to this webinar, but we are in fact real people. We've got 700 people that work at A&S. We're fully UK based in operation 24/7. We have the highest levels of accreditations with Microsoft, being an Azure Expert MSP, and we have skills in cloud infrastructure, data, cybersecurity, low-code, and Dynamics 365. And having all those accreditations that you see on the screen there in the kind of the purple section puts us in the top 1% of Microsoft partners globally. We're very much at the forefront of technology. We really embrace new technology as it becomes available, hence this webinar today around AI and Copilot. We always like to develop new products and services in alignment with what we determine to be industry needs, aligning with Gartner on that as well through investments in our processes and people. In terms of the culture at A&S, we work really closely with our partner charities here in Manchester, where our headquarters is. In Manchester, you use Royal Manchester Children's Hospital. We've got a charity boxing match taking place in 2 weeks' time to support Royal Manchester Children's Hospital in that. And we also like to fill the technology skills gap in the market through our Ofsted Outstanding A&S Academy, taking on apprentices every year, coaching them through to senior roles within the business and releasing them also into the tech community. And all of this boils down to us being a partner and not a supplier. So we're very much, and that's quite a cliche in the market at the moment, but we're all about building strong strategic relationships with organisations looking to undergo large, complex transformations. Appreciate that was a very whistle-stop tour of who A&S are, but I'm really keen to get into the good stuff in this webinar from Susanna and Chris. So without further ado, I'll hand across to Susanna.
Thank you very much, Brad. Right, so what I'd love to do is paint a picture of what's been happening behind the scenes when it comes to all things AI from the general perspective and Microsoft perspective as well. So Brad, if we can go to the next slide, please. So the topic of AI would have been really difficult to miss this year alone, right? And I think the big question that everybody is asking, well, why now? AI, the concept of AI has been around since the 50s of the last century. As Brad mentioned, the Turing test that was actually launched in the 50s, right? But the reason that the talk has been all about AI this year is that it got into the hands of the mass consumer, right? I'm sure that many of you in the room had a play around with ChatGPT. It really opened up the floodgates and it created an amazing wave of innovation in the tech industry. And if we can go to the next slide, the real impact is starting to be seen. So you do not have to be afraid to think, well, it's actually somebody doing real stuff with AI. The impact is being seen across the board. Some of the big numbers you can see on the screen are being produced by the companies such as CarMax, who's been doing summaries of their car reviews and other work that they do. It took them days compared to what would take an individual 11 years to complete using generative AI technology. You've got insurance companies such as Progressive, who's saving millions annually by leveraging AI-powered chatbots, right? And you've got companies such as EY who are bringing real efficiency when it comes to their document automation system that they work on internally as well. So real projects are starting to take place alongside many other POCs that we're working on with clients. And I'll mention some of those as we go through the presentation to make it real for yourselves as well. But before we get to it, and I appreciate we're in a webinar, so I can't really pick on people too much, but I always like to raise the question of, well, what is AI? How should we think about what AI really represents? Think about it as a set of techniques that we use to train computers to make them do what you would need human intelligence for, okay? And when we talk about all this amazing stuff around ChatGPT, it's all underpinned by large language models, the LLMs, which is a term that you may have heard. And that is a technology that's really good with language. It's been trained on language. So don't give generative AI model, a finance model to compute, etc. It's not great at math for the time being, but it's great with language when it comes to summarizations, knowledge mining, sentiment search, etc. All of that can do on a really great level. And that's really important to understand, because I believe when we first came to the hype of AI conversations across organizations, to help you understand what you can do with the tech and where it can serve its purpose within the business is quite important, right? So there's a distinction to be made between, machine learning models, data science, etc., and generative AI. So hopefully that helps. Chris, if we can go to, Brad, if we can go to the next one, please. Now, the way that we have been able to launch a lot of really cool technology to our customers is thanks to our partnership with OpenAI, right? So I'll give you a bit of history. We started engaging with the OpenAI team for the first time in 2019, I believe it was, and then we extended our partnership at the beginning of this year. And as you can imagine, OpenAI requires a lot of computing power to train the technology that they produce, ChatGPT being one of it, right? So we had to work out the best way to stack servers in the data centers, right? And all of the fun stuff that comes with it. And as a part of the partnership, OpenAI can carry on continuing improving their models. And on the other side, we have agreed to start integrating their models into the services that we provide to customers across PowerPoint, across Excel, across Team and Outlook, technology that you know as Copilots these days, which we'll touch on today too. But it's important to mention that you can also leverage the models that OpenAI produce and build your own solutions via the Azure OpenAI models, which we'll talk about today as well. Now, if we can go to the next one, please. On a very high level, not to get into too much detail, I think it's just important for you to understand that the models that OpenAI have created and that you can access via Microsoft as well are very much the models relating to conversation, the ChatGPT technology that you may be familiar with, especially if you're using, let's say, Bing Chat as well. It's technology that can help you summarize documentation, but it's also technology that can help you generate code and generate images as well, which is massive for your developers in organizations and for creative industries as well, if you think about it from that perspective. Now, if we can go to the next one. It's a very busy slide, and it actually gets much busier when it comes to the timeline of the past 2 weeks with the announcements that have been made quite recently. But as a part of the partnership, we're integrating the services into what we offer customers, right? as co-pilots, and these are very much being launched across the board. And I know Chris will showcase some of this to you, so you get a visibility of what that means to us as we use this technology every day in our businesses. But when this timeline has been launched, I thought, well, what else can come for the rest of the year? We're in March over there. Well, Windows Copilot got announced, right? Microsoft Copilot got announced, Power BI Copilot got announced, and many, many others. So there's a lot of goodness coming, and I think our engineering team must find their work really exciting at the moment when it comes to enriching everything that we do as Microsoft with the AI technology. So if you think about it from the innovation standpoint, the wave of innovation has been nothing sort of that we have seen in the tech industry for at least my short-lived career. And I think that the team here would be able to add to it as well. But Brett, if we can go to the next one, I want to take you through a picture of where we are seeing some of the main use cases of organizations that have started leveraging the Azure OpenAI service, especially in the beginnings where Copilot perhaps wasn't quite there, or many of the Copilot capabilities still aren't released to the public, right? So some of the key use cases we've been seeing are very much around content generation, being able to summarize call center calls for summarization, next step actions, email generations with proposals. When it comes to market research, we're seeing a lot of organizations across, hedge funds, private equity, any department that needs to summarize a lot of documentation, looking at use cases, how can they enable their investors better. When it comes to code generation, that's quite obvious, enable your developers much better. And when it comes to the semantic search, being able to search really complex documentation. We've had interesting conversations with the likes of procurement, supply chain teams, which is where this technology can be helpful as well. So if you do build up those use cases, you can start thinking about, well, you can enable end-to-end call center analytics. You can enable their customer 360, leveraging the data that you've got on the customer, including, the structured part and the unstructured part. And the business process automation is massive as well, being able to pick up the right information from emails, trigger some actions based on that as well. All of that can be really powerful. Now, if we can go to the next one, the big question that we get as Microsoft oftentimes is, well, what happens to our data, right? When it comes to all of this, everybody wants their data to be safe and secure. Well, Microsoft, we have made the commitment that your data is your data. We do not use your data to fine-tune any of the underlying models. We don't use it to improve the models. We don't send it to OpenAI. Your data is protected by the enterprise Azure level security. So that's a big point to make. And we'll expand on it in a moment as well. But before we do that, there's a concept where we've got a lot of organizations who are thinking, well, how do we best start? Where do we start? How do we think about our strategy when it comes to deploying co-pilots, our own co-pilots, etc.? And there's a way of thinking about it on a high level, right? These services will get better over time, right? We have been through iterations of, GPT-3, 3.5, Turbo, GPT-4. It's been incredible to see the development, right? And the amount of parameters that those models have been trained on have been increasing massively. I believe OpenAI have not even released the amount of parameters that GPT-4 has been trained on, but I've read articles where experts are assuming it may be in trillions at this point, which is just incredible if you think about it. But initially, we're seeing organizations learning to drive in their car park, thinking about internal use cases before they start thinking about use cases that will impact their clients, their customers externally. And in the future, we may get to a model where you'll have people managing a number of co-pilots that will enable their business to run more smoothly and more automatically, right? Now, a point I want to make as well is that, right, if we can go to the next one, is that the OpenAI services have very much become a part of the Microsoft suite of AI services, right? We are integrating them into many of the services so that even your citizen developers, your business users can leverage them on an everyday basis. That's very much the purpose of a Copilot. But if you are building your own solution for your own purpose, for your own applications, think about all of the other services that you may need to make the architecture work, right? If you are collecting data that's being analyzed, you may need to store the actual findings somewhere for historical purposes, etc. Well, you've got all of those services in the portfolio to help you to complete the loop there. Now, I want to jump into a topic that's become quite a hot one as well when it comes to customers thinking, well, how do we make sure that we secure our solutions, right? What are the mitigation layers when we're developing our own solutions, right? So on a high level, I'll cover that with you. So as you can see, if you're developing your solution, it kind of goes through a level, right? You'll have the actual model, then around it we build safety system, then you have the meta prompt where you tell the bot how to best behave, and then you'll have the user experience, which will basically help you secure the application, where you would typically have a, let's say, a multi-factor authentication for a specific department to be able to log into an application to leverage the system, right? So when it comes to the model, within the model, Microsoft and OpenAI are working to collaborate on human reinforced feedback. So that's something that's happening in the background. When it comes to the safety system, you can go to the next one, please. There's a safety controls being put in place that will help you capture any hateful, any violent, any sexual commentary that may be communicated to the bot, so that it prevents getting, unsuitable answers back to the users. So the filtering is available for you to leverage, and you can choose the intensity to make sure that it suits your use case within the business. Now, if we go to the next one, when it comes to the meta prompt and the prompt engineering is becoming its own science in a sense. But if we can go to the next one, please. But essentially, when you are developing your solution, you can tell ChatGPT how to behave, and you can do it across a number of areas. For example, there's been posts in the news around hallucinations when the bot would come up with things that were actually not true, right? So you want to avoid hallucinations, so you can instruct the bot to only reference factual statements from the data that it's been provided. You can set the right tone, you can set the right safety measures and ways to make sure that the bot doesn't actually reveal its rules to prevent something that's called jailbreak. So somebody trying to make the bot do something that it shouldn't be doing, right? So you can put these measures in place. Now, if we can go to the next one. It's been great to see that, especially in them since our last conference, since Build, there's been a number of new services and new methods announced in how we're helping customers manage their models, right? So there's been services announced that will help you measure your relevance, the groundedness, the coherence of the models, especially as they become more complex as customers evolve their solutions. There's the content moderations, there's the prompt engineering. You can expect, I would say, more and more in this space as we release more training, as more learnings are being launched by us as well. That's actually one of the AI commitments that we're making to the community, right? We're all on the journey together when it comes to AI. So Microsoft has made those commitments to always share what we learn, make sure that we provide training to organizations, and I've seen some of it slowly being rolled out. So you may have seen some of the initial wave of learning available to business users on LinkedIn that's been made in collaboration with LinkedIn and Microsoft. But if we get to the responsible AI piece, I want to touch that very quickly, because if we're putting this technology out there, we bear responsibility to help address the world that we've helped to create with this technology, right? So if you can go to the next one, please. We want to avoid these scenarios when it comes to deploying AI technology. Some of you may remember an experiment called Tay AI, a bot launch on Twitter. Let's just say it didn't last long. Tay had to be shut down because of remarks that she has made on Twitter. So that didn't last too long. We want to avoid these situations, right? We want to build technology that is based on responsible AI principles. And those responsible AI principles, if we can go to the next one, Brad. those responsible AI principles are very much based on the framework that you can see here, making sure that the tech is fair, reliable, safe, private, secure, inclusive, transparent, and that we're accountable for its use. And the phrase I like to say here is, this is great. It tells you where to go, but not how to get there. Okay. And that's why we have been splitting these into actual goals and into processes and tools. And we share that with organizations. So you can absolutely go and have a look at our responsible AI standard around how we design and deploy our AI technology responsibly. You can use the impact assessment for your use cases that look at the opportunities, the risks, the stakeholders involved in planning your AI projects. And we have an office of responsible AI that governs our internal training, the use cases, the triage of sensitive use cases. And that's something that we have started seeing organizations adopt as well. Different SMEs and experts coming from the rest of the organizations to implement this. Because let's be clear, when it comes to this technology, it cannot only be an IT project. It needs to be involved from multiple sides of the business, right? Let's go to the next one. Just very briefly, I did mention that it's very key that, you know, we will be sharing the learnings. You can expect communities being established across the world. I know there's a commitment to establish more people in various regions to make sure that we are working with the communities, with a partner network on establishing the responsible AI community. And, you know, speaking about all of this, if we go to the next one, you may be wondering, well, what are the governments doing across the board? In the UK government released the AI white paper. And if you look at the standards that are set up, that it advises organizations to follow, those are very much aligned to our responsible AI standards as well. Now, if you do operate across Europe, it's worthwhile mentioning that the EU AI Act is at proposal stage. If it does pass, and if it does go into action, it will be in 2026. So as you can see, they're still catching up a little bit if you consider all the advancements that have been made this year alone. And just to wrap up, right, some of the things to consider, and I'm sure the slides will be shared with you as well. There's a beautiful slide with all the various use cases that you can initially consider. If Brad, if we can share that just very briefly. I'll leave that with you. This is some great food for thought that you can discuss with your teams. But if we go to the next one, this is a key one. What I have seen sometimes within organizations is businesses trying to work on POCs that bring too little value to their actual teams. And this is a really good metric that you can consider, because you should be focusing on use cases that are quick wins, but actually deliver business value as well. So think about, can you improve your customer satisfaction? Can you develop a market differentiator? Can you reduce costs by leveraging this use case? But then also you have to consider, well, do we have the data available for this use case? Is the data of good quality? Because this is the sort of technology, feed it bad data, you'll get bad outcomes, right? I think every company has been quite transparent on that, and I should definitely be. Have you got the right security aspects in place? I think when it comes to all things AI, the three bubbles within the business when it comes to your data, your security, and your data culture should be in a good place to make sure that you can fly. There's also the consideration of, you know, do you have the right skills? Do you need a great partner such as A&S to work alongside you, especially at the beginning? I would definitely recommend that, right? Everybody is at the journey where they're skilling themselves up, and having somebody who's, you know, seen a project many times in a similar scenario would definitely help, especially in the initial stages. So this is definitely a very helpful matrix to consider to make sure that you're focusing on the right things with your leadership, with your IT team and your SMEs who are bringing to the table. Now, that was very much just a very quick overview of what's out there, but I want to make sure that we get some exciting overviews from Chris as well, because I know that he's prepared some really good stuff for us to see as well. So I believe this is it from my side. And Chris, over to you.
Thank you, Susanna. That was awesome. I love that presentation. I actually, yeah, I learned a lot. So I'm just going to quickly nick the screen share, Brad, if that's cool. And what I will do is I will also share audio, and I hope this all works. Right. So Hey everyone, what's up? I'm going to take you through some more technical pieces. Susanna, really, that was wonderful. I love the way you put that forward, and actually some food for thought around responsible AI. No, AI is not here to make your toaster come to life to take you out, right? AI is here to help you. So it's important to think about the fact that AI is not just Terminators and robots coming from the sky, right? Couple of things that I've been able to work on and learn in the last few months is that Susanna made a good point. We're here to learn together. So I don't think everyone knows everything except for one of my 6-year-old twins. She categorically told me yesterday that she knew everything, so we're going to hire her. But other than that, I don't think everyone knows everything. I think we're all experiencing different things with artificial intelligence and especially copilots. So yeah, let's learn in public and learn together. There are a number of interesting releases that Microsoft have made from a Copilot and AI perspective. And actually, if you think effectively what Copilot does, it infuses itself into a set of tools to make things easier for you. So I call that taking the robot out of the human. All right, and I'm going to give you a quick analogy here. Many moons ago, when people used to have farms, they used to take buckets and dip buckets into water and then walk up the banks and water their crops one by one. And then eventually some very smart so-and-so discovered that it was a good idea that they could dig a thing called a canal. And the canal would pass water up sort of downstream, and you could water or irrigate your crops like that. So all the people using their buckets then scrapped the buckets and they started digging canals. And then as kind of society increased, in around about 1996, a thing called a browser was released. Pretty sure you all remember that thing. Well, I do. And this other tool, I will not name it, came about, and you could search things. And oh my gosh, we thought that that was going to be the thing. But guess what? That's common nature for us. We just find information really quickly, right? And then the era of digital transformation came around, and things like low code were released, and everyone freaked out because all the developers' jobs were going to be taken from low code. And guess what? Hey ho, developers are still around, and we still really need help with building stuff. So I don't think that AI is here to do anything nefarious at all. But I do love the fact that Microsoft have infused it into all of the tools, such as things like GitHub, right? Where I don't have to write, I can write my code, I can use code samples, but I can be a little bit more lazy now and not test all of my code and actually get the AI to do that for me, right? So it is really taking the robot out of the human. I will say on November the 1st, when Microsoft 365 Copilot becomes live, I will never build another slide again. Yes. Now, the other thing that I would love is actually to talk to you all and never capture these things again, called expenses, right? My worst thing ever. So I'd love to have more of the robot taken out of the human. Okay. So when you look at what's going on around what Microsoft are doing, Copilot solutions are going to be key and core to what we do. And as Susanna mentioned, we will need to have a concept of kind of changing the scope of what we do. So instead of writing code, we will prompt. And then it's interesting because there's a thing in the chat that's saying the prospects of introducing Power Platform to a business is very challenging, especially when they have no understanding of the basic software development principles. I disagree. I think that introducing Power Platform is really easy because it kind of lends itself to using tools like Microsoft Excel, Office, and PowerPoint, right? So it's exactly the same concept. Very important, and Copilot will build on that as well. So a couple of things that are really important when starting to look at what's happening. And I'm going to use Power Platform as an example here, right? Power Platform is effectively a mechanism to build tools of all ranges and sizes. So you can pretty much build anything you'd like, okay? Now, tools like Microsoft Dynamics are made of the same digital bricks that Power Platform provides, essentially the customer service modules or the customer engagement modules. But Copilot is really good at taking these kind of smaller solutions and building them up. And absolutely, Aaron, I'll take you up on that. We should get on a call and talk about what this can do. If you think about what's going on, not outside of Power Platform, but tools like Microsoft Office, when I'm building PowerPoint solutions, okay, I hate slides. I'm a creative, but I don't like building slides. So I'm hoping that I can get at least 60% of the work done with Copilots and then build them out. Let me tell you something else. I love writing things, but I'm very bad at writing. Actually, I'm a little bit dyslexic. So if I respond in the chat, you'll probably get some wicked, strange things coming up, right? And actually, using tools like Grammarly have helped me a lot, but actually having Copilot embedded in tools like Microsoft Word are really going to aid people like me, okay? So I'm really excited for that as well, kind of allowing me to do the things that I love to do, like talking to all of you, rather than spending hours, trying to write text. I'll give you another example. Recently, I did I actually study astrophysics and planetary sciences at the University of Birkbeck, and I recently did my exams, and I found that it took me 45 minutes per exam to actually just check my work. So sadly, out of a 3-hour exam, I spent 2 hours and 15 minutes trying to figure out my work when I was writing sentences backwards. So I was hoping that tools like Copilot, not cheating, but would help me understand sentence structure. Okay. So there's a lot of really wonderful things you can do. But here's the thing. I feel like we should worry a little bit if AI is going to take over. I mean, like maybe, Arnold Schwarzenegger will bust through the clouds with a weapon and start taking out Terminators, right? Or my toaster or microwave will turn into Transformers and start helping me clean the house, which would be cool, but I don't think we're there yet, right? So I want you to understand that actually the point that Susanna made is that it's a co-pilot is an assistant. It is not an autopilot. Okay. It's not here to take your jobs, right? The whole idea behind Copilot is that it helps you do the things you love to do, which is really key. So I figured what we should do is try something. Okay, we're gonna do something a little bit risky. Everything I do from here on out, okay, just this one thing will not be live, but the rest of it will be live. So we're gonna interview Copilot. How does that sound? Let's ask it some questions. So you can see that this is Bing Enterprise Chat, okay, and it's AI-powered Copilot for the web. So in the great sense of try to figure things out, I'm going to say, what are you? By the way, as I said before, whatever happens from here on out, I'm not responsible. Well, I'm a little bit responsible because I'm prompting it, right? But I'm a machine, not a human. By using AI, I can talk to you. I'm here to help you find answers, blah, 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 blah. That comment in the chat is wonderful. If 3 towels take 3 hours to dry, how long would it take? How long would it take to dry 9? Yeah, fine. I'm not going to get into that. Anyway, so I've asked it. I'm going to ask it a really sketchy question. Are you here to take my job? Okay, this did give me a really odd answer once. So let's just see, right? Look, nothing up the sleeves. This is all live. Right. No, I'm not. Flat out. Okay. I'm not here to take your job. I'm here to help with some tasks that you might find useful or interesting. I respect your choice if you don't want to talk to me. Okay, no, I just want to be nice to the AI. All right, you see, it's just completely shut down my conversation. Look at that. I'm not talking to you anymore, right? But like my ex-girlfriend. Anyway, so let's move on swiftly. I'm with Aaron. So I'm going to go take a look at some of the functionality available in Power Platform, right? So the first thing we're going to do is I'm loath to do this because normally I would live demo this to you. I'm going to play your recording, and this is pretty important because this is what's going to happen with Copilot and Power BI. Now, yes, I know a lot of you may think that Power BI is just like the analytics tool, but there's a lot to it, especially when looking at tools like Fabric. Also, I do like to call Power BI Yellow Excel, and I'm sorry. So hopefully the sound will come through on this. Let's give it a go.
Let's take a look at how Copilot in Power BI is empowering everyone to quickly find
everyone hear that?
insights. For example, Sam, an HR analyst who is constantly handling requests from my management to do analysis and provide answers. It can take hours and even days to respond with new reports. Now, with Copilot in Power BI, I can simply describe
Sorry. It's decided to randomly
the report
pause.
I want to build and get insights in seconds. Maybe we need to break down some of our employee data to understand demographics and hiring trends. I just describe what I need, and Copilot will automatically analyze my data and create a new report based on my needs. Immediately, I have a beautiful Power BI report that is fully interactive, and I can start slicing and dicing my data to explore deeper. Copilot added the charts and slicers I asked for, but also conveniently gives me options to adjust the output to get just what I'm looking for.
Okay, I'm going to stop it there. Thank you, Copilot, for Power BI, right? That is pretty darn cool, don't you think?
Let's take a look.
So I'm going to go back to the demo, right? So that's Copilot for Power BI. Now, just as a heads up, this functionality has existed in tools that we've been using for a long time. Like as an example, here's a SharePoint list. If I click visualize this list, it actually automatically generates me the Power BI report. Right now, all that's happened is that Copilot embedded inside Power BI allows us to straddle and interrogate that data to kind of give us a kind of quick view. I quite like the comment in the chat. Jobs will change. Absolutely. Jobs will be taken not by AI, but by people who know AI, right? So my thoughts are it's probably a better idea philosophically to start learning now. The tools are out there. That's why we do these webinars, by the way. So my theory is start getting involved ASAP, because when the hype wave 3 starts, we are going to be really, really shifting left a little bit to understand a bit more around what data can do. Back to the demo. So you can see that this has generated a really quick Power BI dashboard, and this is without using Copilot. That demo I showed you before actually allows you to speak natural language to it, okay? So let's do something a little bit more fun. Everyone likes a bot, right? We all love a bot, so virtual agents. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build you a bot that's going to interrogate a AI source. So first things first, let's look. I've Googled, binged. Yeah, bad, Chris. I've binged financial services news, and you can actually see that good old Goldman Sachs is at the top of the list, right? So let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and copy this URL. Now I could be lazy and kind of troll through the website and look for some stuff. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to make you a bot that interrogates that website. We're going to call this GS bot. Okay, this is using a tool called Power Virtual Agents. And I will just simply put in my URL, my website URL over there and hit create. Now, what this is going to do, it's going to use AI to build the physical bot itself. And it's actually going to allow me to interrogate that website using the information provided by the ChatGPT connector. So you can see that my bot's being created. Hello, I'm the GS bot, right? And it's already created everything in the background, so I really don't need to do very much. So I'm going to go and let's have a look, right? Let's just take a look at this bot, and you can see it says, PayPal CEO says the US consumer has been resilient. So let's pop in here, and we'll say, what does PayPal's, I see my spelling. What does PayPal's CEO say? What does PayPal's CEO say about the American consumer? Well, bam. So this is a test, right? It's going to go check it out. It's already kind of collated the topics. According to PayPal CEO Dan Schulman, the US consumers being the source of strength for the economy. Wow. Holy smokes, right? So we've got our bot built straight away. 3 seconds. Nice. So what we can then go do is publish the bot. We'll stick the bot over there, give it a publish. And congratulations, ladies and gentlemen, you have a working tool that can actually go. We'll go to the demo website, copy that URL, and we'll pop it in the chat for you to give it a test. Cool. So there's our bot. Fantastic. Everyone cool with that? Pretty straightforward, right? You can actually do a lot more fun stuff and actually talk to that bot as well. The other thing you can do is start actually making applications. So physical applications using Copilot. So let's say we want to track complaints within an organization. So please, got to be kind to the AI, because when it comes to life, I want it to be on my team, right? And consider me a great loyal servant. So please make me an app to track financial complaints. Please make me an app to track financial complaints. So what it's going to go do, again, use the AI service. It's going to go and track what's going to go doing in the background. How do we know that the bot is using source data and not browsing the internet? It's not browsing the internet, because if you ask it a weird question, like I just said in the chat, you will be able to only get information from that site. So it's browsing the site, not the internet. Anyway, there's some financial complaint data right there. You can see it's very, very simple. So I'm just going to make an app internally that's going to allow me to go and, capture these things. So say as an example, Susanna is one of my customers. I'm going to go and capture information from Susanna. I'll go create the app. Again, nothing up the sleeves. You can absolutely see that. This will go and build an application that allows me to track and capture that information. Okay. Now, what's really cool about this is that as an app maker, we had a question from Aaron earlier around Copilot and using Power Platform. This will eliminate the really simple things that I would normally take hours to do, like building a responsive user experience. I'm not a maker for user experiences, right? I've got lots of talent, but very little taste, as you can tell by the room around me. Therefore, I do struggle to make pretty things. But I would rather spend time on data, because that's what I love to do. So very simply, what's happened is that the Copilot that lives on the right is building me the app. There it is. There's the application using that source data. I can say, oh, wow, I can go and talk to the app and say, add more data. I'm just going to pick random stuff. And so actually, we'll do. We'll say add, oops, A-N-O-T. My spelling. Add another screen. There we go. So it's going to go and add another screen to the app. Absolutely. So you could use this bot to analyze a repository of internal policies. Absolutely. You could definitely do that, but you would need to connect the LLM to those policies first, right? So that's just in the chat to let you know. There we go. So you can see it's added another screen, and I can quite easily go and run this app right over there and close the Copilot, because I'm done with you, AI, and I can go ahead and capture information. Now, I won't publish this to my phone, but it's super easy to do, and that bot is live straight away. One last thing before I talk. So we've created a bot that interrogates some data. We've created an app that fronts a bunch of data to me. Last thing I thought I would show you is using tools like Power Automate. So Power Automate is a bit like the wind. it's automation that runs in the background, and it actually lets you interrogate data, right? And automate your activities with data. So I'm going to say capture data from a form. This is just a simple form I've got kicking around in the background. I'm going to say edit with Copilot. Right now, what's happening is it's going to go and look at this flow and tell me what the flow does. So it's like, hey, this is what the flow does. There we go. So it tells me it adds an action. It's using these connectors over here. You can see I've got it to send an email. I'm going to say add an action to post P-O-S-T to a Teams site. Add an action to post to a Teams site. Fire that up, and you'll see an actual action is added to the bottom of that flow that'll send an email to Brad, but also post to his team sites. And I could kind of get that to recur, so I could spam him if I really wanted to, but I'm a graceful AI master, so I will not do that. Anyway, oh, it does not like that. Oh, there it is. Oh, it's been added, but I need parameters. Look at that. Post. Wow. Okay, so I've got to go sort out the parameters, and it kind of knows I've got to do that. So I'm going to post it as the user and post in a channel called whatever, right? So it's pretty cool. So you can start actually interacting and editing using various tools on the platform. And what you're going to find is that Microsoft have released, I'm not joking, and Susanna, chuck something at me if I'm wrong, there are roughly 148 Copilot SKUs that have been released into circa 120 products. Wow. That is cool, right? So the theory here is that if you're working across any area of the platform, regardless of whatever it is, you are going to find that there is a mechanism of adopting Copilot and AI, which I've been looking in the chat. I haven't gotten to all your questions. I'm really sorry. There's a mechanism to extend Copilot and AI, and there's a mechanism to build your own custom LLMs around it and on top of it. So the key thing here, number one, folks, is AI is not going anywhere except upwards. You have already got it in your business. As the great Carl Sagan said, absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. It is happening. This thing is going on now. It's not a fad. It's not a phase, right? Number two, Susanna mentioned the governance piece. Guardrails and governance all the time, my friends. Let's start getting that data right before wave 4 of the AI hits, because we really want to make sure that your data is rock solid and your security is as well. And then the second thing is, what is your purpose around AI? You can't AI because you just want to AI. You've got to think about what your plan is. And Susanna, again, mentioned some wonderful use cases around this. Okay. So I really think that dare to do, folks, really thinking about actually, should you do this and what's the way forward? Now, I know we've got a couple of minutes and I know there's some questions in the chat. So shall we try and knock those out as we, like right now? What does everyone think?
Yeah, I think, last couple of minutes, Chris, go through the chat and answer as many as you can, and then we'll get back to anyone that we can't answer. Yeah, so I'm going to hit a bottom by one. Susanna, if you want to grab any, but basically, can we leverage fluid UI components in Copilot? No, not yet. I think, remember, this is kind of version 1 kind of thing. I don't want to give it a version. It's using GPT-3 from what I know, but yeah, I think in the future we will be able to. Could we use this bot to analyze a repository of our internal policies? Yes, you can, but I would say you would be pointing the bot at a different source, right? So Susanna mentioned,
I'd add there, Malcolm, typically in those architectures, you would use cognitive search as a part of it as well. And the connectors have been growing and growing. So have a look into the library for that one.
For sure. Data location is going to be critical here. Abso-freaking-lutely, James. 100%. You will find that when you start pointing LLMs at data, it is never good to use fat data structures, right? Because it's going to absolutely hammer your utilization and your GPU usage. So you think about thinner sections, right? But more refined prompting. Do you want to add to that, Susanna?
No, absolutely. Cool. I think when it comes to the Microsoft 365 Copilot, what many organizations have been focusing on, getting their SharePoint in order, etc., just to make sure that you've got the right groups in order, the right protection, role-based access, etc. You know, some of you may have seen the episode of Suits years ago where they managed to print out the salaries of everybody and just left it laying around the place, right? You don't want people to come into the system and start asking it sensitive questions, which is where a lot of companies are on this journey to get Copilot ready.
Yeah. Can I reiterate on that phrase, Copilot ready? Don't worry about extending a trillion things and making your own LLMs and all that jazz. Not yet. Just think about adoption. Like, what are you going to do? What is your definition of ready? Right. And I think that's really important. There is one more question. How do we decide if we should be building our own Azure AI app or wait for Copilot? Oh man, it's going to be give and take, right? Like you're going to have to do. I'm going to give the classic consultancy answer here. It totally depends. Yeah. Okay. I know. I thought I saw a hand get started. Yeah. Do both. Yeah, I love it, James. Spot on, man. Do both. 100%. I'm totally with you. Can you deploy
We've had
apps from?
organizations who embarked on developing their own solution, and as they were in the development, advancements came into the likes of the Power Virtual Agent that were actually helping them streamline the work they were trying to do before. So it's a bit of a fluid space, but there's definitely organizations who want to be on the forefront. So are you an innovator? Are you an early adopter? If so, go play around with it, right? But there's definitely a lot of organizations who maybe a bit more risk averse, so they're waiting for the full Copilot to enable the productivity for their individual members of the team. So it does depend on the risk that your organization is willing to take.
The other thing I'd say, folks, I know this is a little bit random, but if you want to connect with myself, I can't give Susanna's email out, sorry, but if you want to connect with myself and just have a chat around the techie stuff, I'm going to put my email on the chat. I'm more than happy to answer questions because I know we're getting to the end. But yeah, it's well worth getting stuck into this. And you know what? Great point here. Cyril, I read the first few lines of your text and I knew exactly what you're going to say. It reminds me of the early days of cloud, a lot of ambiguous terms flying around, and we're operating on shifting sands. 1000%, my friend. It's exactly the same for low code 8 years ago. People were like digital transformation, and I can't think of anything else cool. But yeah, I agree, man. And I think we need to just work on this together. Too busy thinking we could and not whether we should. You should. That's the answer. I hate to say it, man, but turning this off is going to put your business at risk. I think what will happen is that organizations that fail to adopt AI are going to struggle because you will not be able to keep up with your competition. And that's really important. The adoption piece is going to be huge here. I'm going to say something else super sketchy. The age of digital transformation is done and gone. We're in the age of enablement now. And what's happened is Microsoft have started enabling end users and people that are business technologists to start using tools more and more. We should have been transformed 8 years ago, 9 years ago. So yeah, I think we need to get with the program.
I would say another thing as well there, Chris, go make friends with your data teams, right? Having been in the data and AI space for the past 5 years, I have seen definitely a division where the IT team is separate, the data team is separate. You need to work together. You need to build those relationships because each other is dependent on each other's success. But for these use cases specifically, it's got to be a collaboration.
Yeah. Great question in the chat. Is there a dependency on Microsoft Purview to control blah, blah, blah? Data and security are the fundamental things you need to make work here before you do anything else. And if you want to be the definition of ready, that will be it, right? And it's the same as low code. It's exactly the same as low code. When low code came around, we ran around yelling at people going, get your data right, get your security right. And then 8 years later, we have people going, but we have app sprawl. I'm like, well, did you listen? So we're telling you, this is what you need to do. I hope that makes sense. By the way, I'm South African, so I'm sorry I'm like super direct. Yeah, that's a yes, Sean. Absolutely, that's a yes. Okay, I know we're over time, but I have like another 5 minutes if anyone wants to stick around and I can answer. I don't know about Susanna, but I can answer a couple more things with an opinion more than anything else. But yeah, we appreciate all of your time, everyone. Thank you deeply and for listening to us yelling about Copilot. There will be a few more of these happening. Find Susanna on LinkedIn and Twitter. Follow her. She is very good at this stuff. Okay, and then Brad and I just make a noise. So yeah,
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. All right,
Thanks,
Brad,
everybody.
you want to wrap up?
Yeah. So yeah, thanks for listening, everyone. Like Chris and Susanna said, like this is the tip of the iceberg. This stuff, like, it's going to get a lot deeper very, very quickly. You know, we need to make sure we're ready to embrace it. As Chris said, reach out for questions. I'll answer as much as I can. If not, I'll redirect you to Chris and Susanna. And I think either myself or a member of my team will be reaching out to you all over the next couple of days to, schedule a 20-minute chat, just to understand if the webinar was helpful, really get some feedback, maybe run through some workshop opportunities that are available around this kind of stuff. So yeah, please look out for that follow-up call or email, and we'll get back to any questions in the chat. that are posted afterwards.
Thanks.
But amazing, yeah. Enjoy the rest
Cool.
of your day, and look forward to speaking to you all soon.
See you all soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.